Hey guys, Frosty Knives here, back with another EU book review. And today we're going way back to what many consider to be the origins and the prehistory of what would eventually become the expanded universe. Now, between A New Hope and Return of the Jedi, 7 books were written. They were written between the years of 1978 and 1983. And these 7 books have sort of become the apocrypha, if you will, of the expanded universe. The first book was written by Alan Dean Foster, and that was Splinter of the Mind's Eye. And that was supposed to be the de facto low-budget sequel to A New Hope, if A New Hope bombed in theaters and Lucas wasn't able to make any more movies. After that came a trilogy of 3 books that was written by Brian Daley, and those were the adventures of Han Solo and Chewbacca. So the Han Solo adventures came out as a trilogy a little bit after A New Hope, and then the last 3 books that came out, they came out in 1983. They were written over a period of 9 weeks. So all 3 books were written in 9 weeks. They were written by L. Neil Smith, and they were the adventures of Lando Calrissian. This was to be the last of the novels that were written about and in the Star Wars universe until Timothy Zahn picks up the mantle again in 1991. So these were the last 3 books that people would get for a very long time. And they covered the early adventures of Lando. And we're going to talk about the first one today. We're going to talk about the first book in the Lando Calrissian adventure series, and that is Lando Calrissian and the Mindharp of Shari. All of these books are short. That book was 144 pages long. And these are the early adventures of Lando, presumably before we meet him in Empire. Now, I just want to say this at the very beginning of the video. There are many, many, many great Star Wars books out there that have been written that are just wonderful Star Wars books. This is not one of them. There are many, many wonderful science fiction books that have been written over the decades. Wonderful science fiction novels that you can read that have come out in the last 40 or 50 years. This is also not one of those. There are some really bad Star Wars books out there that make up for it by being really good science fiction novels. They're good science fiction novels. They're just really terrible Star Wars novels. This is not one of them. What this book is, it has the unfortunate distinction of being not only a terrible science fiction novel, but also a terrible Star Wars novel. This book is not good. A brief overview of what was going on in there. So, the book starts out with Lando playing a game of Sabak at a casino, swindling people out of their money, and he wins a droid. He wins a droid named Vuffy Ra, which, by the way, is probably the only redeemable quality of this book is Vuffy Ra. Very interesting droid. So he wins this droid, but in order to get this droid, he has to go to the planet Rafa and pick it up. And once he gets there and he picks up his droid, he gets embroiled in this mystery by the governor of the planet and this sorcerer of Tund named Gepta. And they basically capture him. And they want him to find a mysterious alien artifact called the Mindharp. It was left over by an ancient civilization of the Shari that had gone extinct many millennia ago, and they want to find this Mindharp because it's an object of mysterious power, and with the Mindharp, they think that they're going to be able to control people's minds. He wants to control the mind of the populace of the planet, and so Lando and Vufira go on an adventure to find this Mindharp. And they eventually do. They find it. And it, of course, turns out to not be what everybody expected it to be. And it sounds like a decent premise for a book. And it is, just not by L. Neil Smith. The book was very convoluted. The story was extremely confusing. There were a lot of Lovecraftian things going on. He was playing with the idea of weird shapes and weird visuals, weird time distortions. There was some things going on. So at some point, I don't think he wasn't sure if this should be a science fiction novel or horror novel. We don't really know. But it is extremely hard to follow. It is extremely convoluted, even for a book written in the 80s. There's a lot of coincidences, coinkydinks that happen, and it's just not a good story. And two reasons that I sort of landed on why I thought this story was terrible. Number one, it was the characterization of Lando. Now, to be fair, at this time period, the expanded universe didn't exist. There was no expanded universe lore. The mythos of Star Wars at this time period was wide open. L. Neil Smith had the ability and the opportunity to write something completely different, because all we knew about Lando from Empire was that he ran Cloud City, he ran a mining plant, a Tabana gas mining plant over Bespin. He knew Han and Chewie and Lando were old friends, sort of. Han won the Falcon from Lando, so Lando was the original owner of the Falcon. And Han did something in the past that sort of made Lando upset, which is why he turned him over to the Empire. We didn't really know a lot about Lando in Empire. So L. Neil Smith had the opportunity to write a backstory, to give us something, a home planet, some friends, some back lore, just something interesting to do with Lando. And boy, did he fail. We didn't get any of that. As a matter of fact, the Lando in the book bears practically no resemblance to the Lando in Empire. The only thing the two of them share is a name, and the fact that he has the Falcon, and the fact that he's a gambler. He doesn't even like owning the Falcon. He wants to sell it. So the characterization of Lando is way, way off. And for some reason, L. Neil Smith decided that whenever Lando was talking to somebody, he was going to use sort of a nickname for him, and it was going to be old something, right? So when he's talking to Vufira, his droid, he calls him all of these weird things like, "That's right, old bartender," or "That's the way to go, you old arcade machine." It's littered throughout his entire dialogue. It's like he took the line in Empire where I think Lando calls Han old buddy. He calls him old buddy like one time, and L. Neil Smith runs with this. And Lando calls everybody old something, and it's really, really annoying. Like, that's his whole personality. His whole personality is wrapped up in smoking cigarettes, smoking cigars, swindling people out of gambling, and calling people old something. Well, that's the way it is, you old barbecue. And it's super annoying. And he misses the mark of Lando's character by miles. Not even in the same ballpark with this. And then let's talk about the universe. Now, this book is supposed to take place in the Star Wars universe. And the Star Wars universe is different from our universe. If someone were to read this book and they had never, ever, ever seen Star Wars, never saw Star Wars, knew nothing about it, and read this book, they would not know by the book that Lando and everybody else was living in a galaxy that was being controlled by a fascist, militaristic dictatorship called the Empire. There is nothing in this book that ties the story to the Star Wars universe. Nothing. As a matter of fact, the universe that Lando lives in is more like our universe than his universe. I mean, in this universe that Lando has found himself in, that L. Neil Smith has written, they have satin, they have denim, they have cigarettes, cigars, they have microwaves, air conditioners, toasters, they have televisions, they have radios. There is zero mention of anything Star Wars. No mention of the Empire, no mention of Vader, no mention of stormtroopers, no mention of the Force, which is funny because they talk about magic in this book. Magic, actual magic, not Force magic, just magic. No talk of the Jedi. Nothing outside of the 3 random sentences where he mentions the Republic in sort of a passing way. The universe is too Earth-centric. This is something that was supposed to take place a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, and I highly doubt that they had microwaves and air conditioners and toaster ovens in a galaxy far, far away. In the same galaxy that had lightsabers and blasters and the Force and all of the other things. So, not only did he miss the mark on Lando, not only did he miss the mark on his character, he missed the mark on the entire universe. I don't know what he was writing, but it's not a Star Wars book. And it's not even a good science fiction book. The one redeemable, if you can call it that, quality that was written in this book is the character of Vuffy Ra, who is a droid. He's a very interesting droid. He's a starfish-shaped droid with tentacles. So he's like a bio-organic technical droid. And he's basically Han's version of Chewbacca. He's the stand-in for all the things that Lando can't do. Lando doesn't know how to pilot a ship. Vuffy Ra pilots the ship. Lando doesn't know how to do this. Vuffy does it. Lando doesn't know how to negotiate. Vuffy does it. So he's basically just there to do all of the things that Lando mysteriously can't do, even though he does them. I can't pilot the ship, yet he pilots the ship through a narrow escape. He's not good in a fight because he's a gambler, not a fighter, yet he has multiple shooting matches with people. So, which is it, Lando? Are you good at things? Or you're not good at things? Old buddy, I don't know. And neither will you if you decide to read this book. And I don't recommend you read this book. I don't. Not even for nostalgia's sake. Not even for curiosity's sake. I would, if I were you, stay far away from this book. And I have 2 more books to read in this trilogy. And the only redeeming quality, if you can call it that, about reading 2 more books is that they're short. They're between 150 and 180 pages long. So they're not that long. But God, they feel like ages and ancient times. And it's just, don't read it. Just forget it exists. Etch-a-sketch it out of your head. Gone. Just do that. I gave it a 2 on Goodreads. I was thinking of giving it a 1. It probably deserves a 1, but I gave it a 2. It's just so bad. It's just so bad, and it's laughable, and it's not even good bad. It's just bad. So guys, that's my review of Lando Calrissian and the Mindharp of Shari. Next up is Lando Calrissian and the Flame Wind of Ossian. Oh boy, another book about Lando. It's probably going to be bad. So what do you think, guys? Have you read this book? Have you heard of this book? Have you had the privilege or misfortune of reading this book? And if you like this book, tell me why. Tell me why you like the book. Maybe you have a different perspective on it than I do. And as always, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up, give it a like, give it a share, put some comments down below. Tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell those people who just seem to be all over the place. And as always, thank you for coming to my TED Talk, and I will see you in the next review.